So let's talk Panthers. You were at the game Friday. You saw the game last night. Friday night, before I get to last night, Friday night, what was the excitement level? Like, where does that rank the Marchand game winner for any Panthers game that you've attended in your long career of attending Panthers games? Where does that rank excitement wise?
Well, first of all, the Maple Leafs should have killed the Panthers when they had the chance. The Panthers are fully back. Like, I don't think Toronto.
We all felt that watching last night's game. Like, we all were like, holy moly.
Game 3 was the game for them, and they lost in overtime after being up 2-0 and 3-1. Game 4, they got the goaltending performance that steals a game in the series, and they still lost that game. Where does Friday rank for me? I don't know, because I left that arena feeling more relief than anything. I think the feeling would have been different had they protected the 4-3 lead and won in regulation. But there were a lot of anxious bodies in that building, myself included, despite the fact that I turned to my friend who I was at the game with in the first period when it was 2-0, and I said, man, it's going to be great when they win this one. I was not feeling that confident going into overtime. It was a lot of sweaty palms and a lot of nervy moments. But thankfully, Sergei Bobrovsky has returned to the form that got the Panthers to the Cup 2 years. Got the Panthers to the Cup 2 years ago.
Get it out of your system now. Yeah, so Saturday night. Yeah, get it all out now, Jack.
That got the Panthers to the Cup 2 years ago. Won them the Cup last year. He's looked like that Bob after the first period on Friday, the last 5 periods.
He's going to do the game Saturday night like gold dust. Yeah. Sounder.
What's that? Get these excess teeth. He got a lot of teas in his throat, don't he?
That was bizarre. But that's how, honestly, if you were trying to have a conversation with me in the intermission between the third period and overtime and during overtime, that's probably what you would have heard coming out of my mouth.
Okay, you tell me what I'm saying because, yeah, you know hockey better. It's like soccer, better than I do. Even game 3, the win did not look like game 4. Last night looked like the Paul ball. You've coined the phrase, like, why did they look like they could outskate us in 2 games in Toronto? Why did it look so different last night, even did it in game 3, which was a win?
I would say that Toronto in general probably plays better at home. Just starting there. They are just a faster team in general, but you come out in the first 2 games of the series, you can kind of lay down how you want to play, being Toronto, utilize that speed, and credit to them. But it's a long series. Playing against this Panther team over the course of a series, it wears you down. And you have that letdown if you're Toronto of the way you lost game 3 with a couple of 2-goal leads, and then you force overtime and you lose in overtime after having a couple of breakaways. Then you get game 4 where they're just trying to get back to Toronto and get back to home ice, and the Panthers just absolutely took it to them. But I was still weary when it was still 1-0 deep into the third period, because I've seen that movie before where the Panthers completely dominate and are still one opportunity, one chance for the opposition from not having to lead anymore. That Sam Bennett goal in the third period was massive, and I thought they were probably deserving of a 4-0, 5-1 lead after 2 periods. But Joseph Woll, like I said earlier, he played the type of game that if you're going to go on the road and win and steal a game with your goalie, he played that game, and Toronto still couldn't win. I think that the Leafs are cooked. They're not getting anything out of Austin Matthews, regardless of whether he's hurt or not. He's out there, and he's not scoring. Mitch Marner, not a playoff dude. That guy's going to want a lot of money in the offseason, and I'm not sure he's going to get what he wants because, yet again, to this point in this series, he's floundered in the postseason. They got a lot of questions on that team. I think they're cooked.
That's a take, Appel, that they're cooked because this one goes back to Toronto. I could see them winning game 5. Most people expected this series to go 7, but I've been somebody who's been critical of Aaron Ekblad, and even yesterday, I had to give him the tip of the cap on Twitter because he actually causes the deflection and the turnover that leads to the Sam Bennett goal. So, when you were talking about playing Paul ball, it has to happen defensively. Tkachuk hasn't been the menace on the ice that we're used to. I don't know if he's injured or not, but defensively, is it just as simple as Bob's been great and Aaron Ekblad and Seth Jones are just being dominant out there?
I think that it's a team that's finally back at full strength. And I think there were pockets of earlier in this series where they were playing well defensively, not like they were last night. Toronto had absolutely nothing last night until the third period. They had a couple of really good chances that Bob thankfully came up huge on. I think Ekblad's finally got his feet back underneath him after, being suspended for the 20 games and then the couple of games after the Hagel hit. The depth defensively, like Seth Jones and Mikkola and Forsling and Ekblad, like that is your top two pairs. That makes you a lot better. And despite all the noise that gets thrown around about Aaron Ekblad, he's still a top pair cup-winning defenseman and one of the best defensemen in the history of this franchise. And he's a very good player. And now that he's getting back into form, this is the result. They are so good at denying these zone entries from Toronto. Like, I want you to actually focus on Gus Forsling and Nico Mikkola and Jones and Ekblad too. Like, the way that they're able to get their stick on pucks when they're trying to come into the zone, it is ultra impressive because right after they make that deflection, it's going back the other way and the Panthers dumping it in and getting on the forecheck. Like, can you really remember over the course of these last two games where Toronto had sustained zone time? Maybe one or two occasions? Even strength, I mean? I can't think of many.
I think one day we will talk about Liam Eichenberg the way that he just talked about Aaron Ekblad, which is, hey, you guys have heaped criticism on him for so long, but he's a stalwart guy, and you'd miss him if he wasn't out there. Just a little aside, Appel. Let's talk about Max Domi for a second. Ends up getting a $5,000 fine. I thought it was, and I don't think I'm being a homer on this, I thought it was suspension worthy. I thought it was one of the cheapest, dirtiest things that I'd seen in a long time. Where do you stand on what Domi did to Sasha Barkov?
It's disgusting, truly abhorrent, and plays that they should be trying to get out of the game. Now, we don't have to talk about Dmitry Kulikov and the little chicken wing that he gave Mitch Marner earlier in the game. We don't have to talk about, a couple other times the Panthers maybe take a run at the Maple Leaf players. We don't have to talk about that. But Max Domi making the decision from one end of the ice to the other with the game over and running Alexander Barkov, the opposition captain, from behind into the boards, ridiculous. I'm not surprised he wasn't suspended. I mean, he got a 5-minute major for boarding and got thrown out with a second, less than a second left. But I think the Panthers might be better off with him being in the lineup for Toronto than him being suspended. I will also say this. I find it incredibly fascinating to do what if it was this guy? What if Sam Bennett made that hit? What if Aaron Ekblad made that hit? What if Matthew Tkachuk made that hit on Matthews, Marner, Nylander? You name the player. The Sportsnet pregame, postgame, Kevin Bieksa, former player, last year went on this whole 2-minute rant about how Nick Cousins is the dirtiest player in the game. He's taking runs at guys' heads all the time. This and that and all this video. And last night, this dude is sitting up on the panel talking about, you know what? I'm not condoning hits from behind, but I'm cool with that one. What are we doing? What are we doing here? I'm not surprised he wasn't suspended.
Why we got to tariff them?
51st day.
Oh, goodness. But, okay, why does to this conversation, why can Ekblad hit a dude in his chest and knock him down and get a suspension, but Domi can skate? I watched it this morning. He skated 80 feet, stalked Barkey, and then just jammed his back and hit his head into the and there's no suspension. I mean, why was Ekblad's, or why did Ekblad get punished more than Domi?
I think part of it is that there was no injury to Alexander Barkov, thankfully. I think that has something to do with it. And also, as much as I would love to defend Aaron Ekblad for the hit on Brandon Hagel, it was very much to his head. Like it wasn't to his chest. It was, look, the size difference made a difference for Ekblad on that play, but there was head contact with his forearm elbow. He probably was deserving of suspension.
I felt this one was more dangerous, though.
I agree.
This one had the potential to be more dangerous than the
Absolutely.
Hagel hit. Yeah.
That's the type of I think if that hit happens, I saw somebody say the opposite of this, but I'm not sure I agree. Because if that happens in the middle of a game and Alexander Barkov has to miss the rest of the period or whatever, and
Right.
then comes back, you're going to feel every version of that 5-minute major, and it's going to continue to be a conversation throughout. This was at the end. There was a huge scrum caused by that hit, obviously, but the game was over. So I bet you the majority of the people don't even know that he got a 5-minute major for
Right.
that hit. And we don't know if Barkov would have come back or not because we heard from Paul Maurice after that he was okay.
But isn't this lining up to be exactly what we want? Because now
absolutely.
they have to come out nasty.
Yeah.
We're made to be nasty. Isn't this controversy great for the Panthers?
The Panthers built this foundation of this run in the mud. Do you remember the run to the Cup before they got to the Vegas Knights? How many scrums? Oh my God, that was their entire game. Every single whistle, there was a scrum. They grew up in the mud, Crowder. They're less like that now, but they are more than willing to play that style.
But Appel, you said, what if Barkey had been hurt? To me, that's the wrong way to look at it, because even if he's not, like, we're playing, that's what upset me. The NHL played the result. Well, Barkov's not hurt. We avoided disaster there. But the point is, even if he's not hurt, that play 8 times out of 10 leads to somebody getting hurt. And they clearly targeted the Panthers' best player, the guy who has the most impact on the game for the Panthers. So, like, to me, it doesn't matter if he's hurt or not. That play should be a suspension for anybody at any time.
Totally agree, but that's just how the Department of Player Safety operates. And here's the other layer to it, right? So there's been this conspiracy theory. I got to scooch up on my chair because I'm passionate about this. So there's this conspiracy theory around the NHL, specifically with Toronto fans. It was going around with the Tampa fans last series as well, and it goes back a couple of years too, that former Panther Gregory Campbell is now in the Panthers front office. His father, Colin Campbell, works in the NHL front office, and George Peros is the head of the Department of Player Safety, and he used to play for the Panthers. So there is this belief, this conspiracy theory amongst a lot of the loud fan voices that have the popular podcasts with all these teams, especially in Toronto, that there's this massive conspiracy that the Panthers get away with so much because of their relationships with the people in these decision-making positions. And yet there are crickets right now after Max Domi wasn't suspended. So there's this grand conspiracy theory to help out the Panthers and benefit the Panthers, although again, they want Max Domi playing, so maybe this is the way that they, in a way are, backing the Panthers. But this whole conspiracy about how all their decisions are to benefit Florida, and here they take a run at the Panthers' best player, dangerous hit, dirty hit, nothing. Crickets from these conspiracy.
Is that Greg
ladders.
Campbell from the famous CPR line?
Gregory Campbell, yes. Name
the rest of the CPR line. Jimmy. I'll go to Jimmy on this one. The famous CPR line.
No idea.
Oh,
all right,
fan.
I mean, I thought you were a lifelong fan, Jimmy.
Yeah, but I don't know the conspiracy line.
No,
it's not a conspiracy line. The old CPR line, the old Panthers line, from the David Booth era.
I mean, you were not stressing over these Pete DeBoer teams trying to make the playoffs in 2008, 2009.
It was Campbell, Peltonen.
Yep.
Remember Peltonen's first name, Jimmy?
No.
Oh, all right. I think Jimmy's getting exposed here as a fake Panthers fan. I thought he was the most diehard Panthers fan on the show. And then Radek Dvorak. You remember him?
I do remember him.
I don't think you do.
I don't think he does either.
I think when the ticket wizard wears his Radek Dvorak jersey in the suite, you think that's actually Radek Dvorak. I don't even think that that's the ticket wizard. All right. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground on this.
His first name was Billy, by the way.
Billy. Most importantly, we know, thanks to me, one day we will talk about Liam Eichenberg the way that Solana's talking about Aaron Ekblad. Mark it down. I am telling you. Thank you, Appel. Have a great call Saturday on FS1.
Thank you. Hopefully I can get the words out, unlike I did in this segment.
Can you drop a Liam Eichenberg reference at some point during that MLS game?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Now we'll watch.